Good day, everyone. Today, in this video learning, we are going to discuss research designs under quantitative research. And here are our session objectives. Number one, define what research design is. Number two, differentiate the kinds of quantitative research. And number three, illustrate sample research problems for each kind of quantitative research. But before we start with knowing what research design is, let us go first or let's go back with a context about quantitative or qualitative research. Now, I will be giving you a situation and then we are going to analyze if we are going to use quantitative or qualitative research. Situation number one. A health teacher conducts a survey to all senior high school students about their level of satisfaction on canteen services. Now, in this case, the health teacher made use of a survey, and the aim of the study is to know the level of satisfaction of the high school or the senior high school student. Therefore, in this case, numerical values are going to be collected. Therefore, this is a quantitative research. Case number two or situation number two. A researcher interview a principal to find out the joys, challenges, and triumphs in running a rural school. In this case, we are using the method of collection, which is interview. Therefore, textual informations and personal experiences are to be collected. Thus, we are going to use qualitative research. Situation number three. An engineer wanted to test his idea on a new bridge model and test the scale model of the bridge to detect flaws in his design. Therefore, in this case, we are going to use quantitative research. This is an experimental type of research. Okay. Next, situation number four. A researcher administers a pretest on math skills to all grade 11 students prior to implementing a math program intervention. After the implementation, same test was administered to the same set of students. Now, in this case, numerical values are collected. Therefore, we are going to use quantitative research. Next, the last situation. A researcher wants to know the acceptability of the mussel muffin in terms of texture, taste, appearance, and smell as assessed by the experts, students, and teachers. In this case, we are looking for the acceptability, and the acceptability is what is expressed in terms of level of acceptance. Therefore, in this case, we are going to use quantitative research. Now, since we're able to identify the given situation or the given problem, whether we are going to use quantitative or qualitative research, now we go with the research designs under quantitative research. But the question here is, what is a research design? Now, when we talk about research design, it is a set of methods and procedures used in collecting and analyzing measures of the variables specified in the research problem. Therefore, when we talk about research design, we are looking into the method, the procedures, how the informations are to be collected, and how these measures are to be used in the context of solving the given problem. In addition, it defines the study type. What type of research are you going to use? And then the subtype, are you going to use longitudinal type of research? Then knowing the research problem, hypothesis, independent and the dependent variables, experimental design, the data collection methods, and a statistical analysis if there is. Therefore, when we talk about research design, it is a set of methods and procedures, and it is important for the researcher to identify what research design he or she is going to use, because from the method of collection, from the aim of the study, from the hypothesis that being tested, from the statistical analysis that you are going to employ, it covers everything when we talk about the research design. And in quantitative research, the research design is not flexible. Therefore, from the start of the research process till the end, the design that you are going to use will be the same. Thus, you have to adhere the concept of the research design. Okay? Now, research design is a framework that has been created to find answers to the research questions. Whether you are using qualitative or quantitative research, it is the framework that you really have to follow. Okay? Now, what then are our research design under quantitative research? Okay, now we do have here descriptive research design, correlational design. These are under non-experimental research design. And then we do have pre-experimental design, the quasi-experimental, also known as the causal comparative or causal comparative research design, and we have pure experimental design. This is under the experimental design. Now here, there are guide questions that we would like to answer in the context of the research design that we are going to utilize when we are going to conduct now our quantitative research. Now, how will I decide if I go to quantitative research? Therefore, you must have numerical values, and the problem deals with the collection of numerical attributes about the problem. Okay, that is for quantitative research. But the question is, when do I go for descriptive research? Or is my research problem deal with correlational research? Or perhaps it can be an experimental research. Now, these questions will be answered by my presentation about what research design will I utilize when I go with quantitative research. Now, let me give you a guide. Now, the first thing is to answer the question, will there be an intervention or treatment in your quantitative research? I repeat, you always have to ask yourself, when you are going to conduct a quantitative research, always ask, will there be an intervention or treatment? If your answer is no or not, then try to ask this one. Is the primary purpose of your research paper is to examine relationship? If your answer is still no, therefore you are dealing with descriptive research design. This is also known as factor isolating. I repeat, you don't have intervention and you are not looking for an examination of relationship. Therefore, you are dealing with descriptive research design. Now, what is descriptive research design? The purpose of descriptive research design is to seek to describe the current status of an identified variable. Okay, wherein the research projects are designed to provide systematic information about a phenomenon. Example, status of Project 555 implementation. Yan. The level of satisfaction on the delivery services of fast food chain. Yan, we are looking for what is the satisfaction rate of the customers relative to the delivery services. What about the status now of the implementation of the project? Okay, we are just describing. Okay, therefore this is a descriptive type of research. Or we look into the acceptability of muscle muffin relative to the physiological attributes. How acceptable is the muscle muffin? When we talk about physiological attributes, we are just describing. Therefore, this is descriptive research. Remember, this is a factor isolating research design. Okay. Now, let's go back with our guide model. Okay. Now, if your answer is yes, okay, there is no intervention, but the primary purpose of your examination focuses on relationship. But there is another question. Will the sample be studied as a single group? Meaning, are you going to use one group of participants or you are going to use two groups of participants? I repeat, will the sample will the sample be studied as a single group? If your answer is no, therefore still you are using descriptive design. Okay? That's a factor isolating. I repeat, you are not using only one group. There are more groups being studied. And the informations are coming from more than one groups. Okay? Now, what if your answer is yes? My group is just a single group. Okay, I only have one group of participants, and then I am looking for relationship. Thus, you are going to use correlational design. This is factor relating design. Okay, now, what is correlational design? Now, the purpose of correlational design is to determine the relationship of two variables. The relationship of two variables. And it is also designed to predict because if we found out that the two variables are related, therefore, we can determine the regression analysis. That's why we can predict or forecast some event relative to the given relationship of two variables. Okay? Now I repeat, when we talk about correlational research design, we are determining the relationship of two variables. And if we found out that there is correlation when we are using interval or ratio data, then we are going to proceed into regression analysis so that we can predict or forecast event relative to the two variables mentioned in our problem. Okay, now what are the examples? Level of motivation and summative assessment. Okay, level of motivation or the engagement of the learners and the academic performance, specifically the summative assessment, if there is relationship between the level of motivation and the summative assessment using the project 555 in English, Science, Mathematics, Filipino, and Aralin Panlipunan. Now, other than the given examples, I also have anxiety level of learners during online learning and academic performance, meaning we are looking for relationship or testing relationship if the anxiety level of learners and academic performance during online learning is related. Another thing, professional competence and work engagement of bank employees. Yan, professional competence and work engagement. Are these two variables related with each other? Now, the teaching style and the learning style in a specific discipline related. Now, these are example of correlational problem, or the problem uses correlational research design. I repeat, when we talk about correlational research design, we are looking for relationship between two variables. Okay? Now let's go back. Now, what if you have an intervention or there is a treatment in your study? Now, let's proceed with another question. Is the treatment tightly controlled by the researcher? Is the treatment tightly controlled by the researcher? If your answer is no, therefore, you are just dealing with pre-experimental, also known as situation isolating. This happens when you are conducting an effect of a certain medicine or a certain intervention or a certain approach, and then you are just using only one group. Okay, sometimes it is also known as one-shot analysis. Okay, now let's go with the purpose. Now, the purpose of the pre-experimental research design used when no control group is being studied. Therefore, we only have one experimental group, but we don't have control group. That's why this is a single group design or one-shot analysis. Okay? An example, investigate the effect of Project 555 as intervention for learners with low mastery in English, science, math rather, Filipino, and Aralin Panlipunan. Meaning to say, we only have one group, and this group is the law or the learners with low mastery. And then our intervention is the use of the project 555. Okay, we don't have control group. We are just going to test the effect of this intervention in the performance of learners with low mastery in the 5 academic subjects. Okay, that's why this is a pre-experimental research design or a one-shot analysis, also known as the situation isolating. Yan, design. Another, the use of promotional strategy to address the company's revenue or sales. Yan. Yan. The use of new medicine in curing illness. Now, this is another sample research problem that you can use the pre-experimental research design. And always observe that there is no control group in the given pre-experimental research design. Okay? And the new normal instruction, its effect to formative assessment, summative assessment, and attitude of learners. Now, we can also use this one as for the pre-experimental, knowing what will be the effect in terms of the formative assessment using the new normal instruction, the summative assessment, and the attitude of the learners. Remember, there is no control group. We only have one group, and the group is being given an intervention, and we want to know what then is the effect before and after. Okay, now what if there is tightly controlled, or there is what we call control variable or control group? Okay, now you have to ask another question. Will a randomly assigned or collected control group be used? Meaning to say, the sampling design that we are going to use is a random sampling or a non-random sampling? Or perhaps we can use the word, is it, scientific or a non-scientific? Now, if your answer is no, you will not be using randomization, but rather you are going to use a non-randomization for the selection of your respondents. Therefore, you are going to use quasi-experimental design, also known as situation relating. Quasi-experimental, or also known as the causal comparative research design. Okay, now, what is the purpose? The purpose is to characterize by a rigid manipulation of variables, use of control, use of selection method, but the selection for the assignment of participant is a non-random assignment. Okay, perhaps we can use purposive sampling for the given quasi-experimental research design. Okay, now what are the examples? Effect of modular instruction versus online instruction as regards to mastery of competencies using purposive sampling. Okay, meaning you are going to use two groups. You can have two groups. One group are going to use modular instruction. The second group will be online instruction. And then the selection of the participants here will be purposive sampling. We are going to determine what will be the effect when the learners are exposed under modular instruction and online instruction. Okay? Now, going back with our guide. What if your answer is yes? Therefore, you are going to use experimental, or also known as the pure experimental design, also known as situation producing. Okay? It is a situation producing research design. And what is the purpose? The purpose is similar with the concept of quasi-experimental. The only difference is the randomization of participants, meaning the selection of the participants here is random assignment. It can be systematic. It can be random sampling. It can be stratified random sampling. What most important here is that there is randomization, or the selection of the participants is randomly selected or systematically selected. Okay? Now, here are my example. Effect of modular instruction versus online instruction as regards to mastery of competency, but this time the participants are selected randomly, meaning we are not going to use purposive sampling. We are going to use random sampling. That's why the given design that we are going to use will be the pure experimental research design. Okay? Now remember, when we talk about the research design under quantitative research, we do have descriptive design focusing on factor isolating, correlational design, which is factor relating, pre-experimental, also known as situation isolating, quasi-experimental design, also known as situation relating, and pure experimental design, also known as situation producing. Remember, when we talk about descriptive design, we just describe the nature of the problem. Correlational, we determine relationship between two variables. Pre-experimental, there is an intervention, but we don't have control group. For quasi-experimental, we do have control and experimental group, but the manner of selection for the participants is non-randomization. And for pure experimental research design, now We do have control group, we do have experimental group, and the manner of selecting our participants or selection of the participants is random selection or the probability sampling. Okay, now remember, these are the research designs under quantitative research. And with this, here are some of the problems that you are going to answer and identify if the given problem fall under descriptive, correlational, pure experimental, quasi-experimental, or pure experimental. Okay? And the answers here will be posted at the description box. Okay? This will be for 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yan. And for the last one, we do have 9 and 10. Okay, now let me read the problems. Number 1 is studying the level of satisfaction of parents and learners on the learning modality services offered by the school. Level of satisfaction. Number 2, determine the relationship between parental engagement and mastery level of learners in learning most essential learning competencies in the new normal instruction. Third, studying the effects of diets of fruits and vegetables on lowering blood cholesterol versus normal diets for those diagnosed with obesity. Number 4, select randomly group participants into two groups. One group receives the new drug on exercise endurance, and the other group receives no treatment at all. Number 5, investigate the effect of graphic organizers on the reading comprehension of randomly selected grade 10 learners and compare the results to another class that did not use graphic organizers. Number 6, studying the coping mechanisms of learners with no parental support and exposed in the modular instruction. Number 7, studying the relationship of teachers' educational competence and work engagement in the new normal instruction. Number 8, effect of bilingualism and learning modality in mastering the most essential learning competencies using randomly selected participants. Number 9, effect of Facebook Marketplace on the sales of the company. And last one, number 10, studying the acceptability of dragon fruit cake as to appearance, taste, texture, aroma, and cost value. With this, God bless everyone and see you in my next video presentation.